Frank Luntz is a GOP operative. And recently, during an interview, he had some interesting things to say about Bernie Sanders and what the future holds for the Democratic Party. Take a look.
Frank Luntz found in an online survey of 1,000 people that 52% of Hillary Clinton voters agree with the statement, "I prefer living in a socialist country to a capitalist one," compared to just 16% of Donald Trump voters. Asked about the AOC proposal to impose a 70% marginal tax rate on the top 1% of taxpayers, 79% of Clinton voters agree, and look at this, so do 46% of Trump voters. And veteran Republican pollster Frank Luntz joins us now. Before we get to more numbers, are the media kind of soft on socialism? By which I mean giving pretty favorable press to Democrats like Bernie Sanders and AOC, and while being pretty tough on the flaws of capitalism and the excesses of big corporations.
All you have to do is read the New York Times business section. Typically 7 stories, 6 of the 7 will be hostile to a corporation or hostile to capitalism as we know it. And in fact, it's gotten so bad that I've actually started to say to people, stop trying to defend capitalism. It's economic freedom.
You want to know what's economic freedom? Not having to worry about whether or not you can pay for a treatment you need to stay alive. That's economic freedom. Also, not having to worry about whether or not you can afford a roof under your head. That's economic freedom. I love how he's trying to rebrand capitalism because, yeah, there's been some pretty negative news coverage of these massive multinational corporations that in a lot of cases pay nothing in federal taxes. Amazon would be a good example of that. Amazon paid nothing in federal taxes in 2018, meaning that you and I paid more in federal taxes than the biggest, one of the biggest corporations in the country. It's insane.
The world has ever seen, in fact. I'm greatly amused by Howard Kurtz, who used to, by the way, be on CNN and Washington Post, saying, "Oh my God, the mainstream media, they're so hard on capitalism and they love socialism so much." I mean, these are the moments when I ask if we live on the same planet. Every time I turn on television, I see anchors on CNN. Now, I'm not talking about just Fox News. I'm talking about CNN, etc., yelling at some progressive. "Aren't you a socialist? Isn't it just like Cuba and Castro and Venezuela?" Where's the part where they like socialism? I've never seen that on television. Everything I've ever seen on television is one attack after another, without even defining what socialism means, which goes to the next point about the poll. They're like, oh, even 46% of Trump voters want taxes raised for the top 1%, all the way up to 70% marginal tax rate, which AOC suggested. And you want to know what the number is for all Americans? Here, I'm going to go to graphic 28, okay? In a different poll, 76% of Americans believe the wealthiest Americans should pay higher taxes.
Boom.
3/4 of the country says the rich should pay higher taxes. By the way, is that socialism? No. We had a marginal tax rate of 70 all the way up to 91% in America under Dwight Eisenhower. I don't remember anybody calling Dwight Eisenhower a socialist or a communist, right? We had it under Kennedy, we had it under Johnson, we had it all the way through Reagan. We had those rates. So calling it socialism is wrong. And if you are calling it socialism, apparently the American people love it because 3/4 of them says yes. Raise taxes on the rich. And the reality is the only thing that's stopping it is the corruption. Because if you lived in a real democracy and 3/4 of the people wanted something, you'd have it. But we instead, not only do we not have it, we cut taxes on the rich. The exact opposite of what the American people wanted. Why? Because the media is controlled by people who are rich, by multi-billion-dollar corporations. And our politicians, through the donations, are controlled by billionaires, millionaires, and most importantly, corporations.
Now, in the next video, Luntz talks about his predictions for this upcoming election.
Half of Trump voters supporting AOC's 70% marginal tax rate. I mean, and you wouldn't know that from the coverage. You would think it's purely a left-wing position.
It's because the public is really frustrated about being forgotten or left behind. And those two emotions which elected Donald Trump are alive and well, not just on the right, but also on the left. It's the reason why Bernie Sanders did so well in 2016 and why, I'll be blunt with you, I think he's the most likely nominee in 2020.
Yes, so look, Frank Luntz is the top Republican pollster. In the postgame today, I'll tell you about how I applied to work for him when I came out of college.
What? What?
Remember back then I was a Republican.
God, you made a lot of mistakes when you were in college.
I did, man, lots of mistakes. Anyway, tyt.com/join to become a member and get the last half hour of the Young Turks where we talk about topics like that. But he's not dumb, okay? He might be Republican, we might not agree with him, but he's an awfully smart guy and he's been right about a lot of the issues, both in terms of framing that helps Republicans, but also from time to time giving them a heads up of the imminent danger. And in their case, yes, he's right. Bernie is the most likely to win. And because of that untapped anger, frustration, that is legitimate. It is legitimate. And so Luntz, again, is correct about this.
So the rest of his statement, though, and I'm curious to hear what you think about it. Luntz believes that it's a great thing for Trump and Republicans if Bernie Sanders wins the Democratic nomination.
No, see, so he wears two hats, right? One is doing polling that helps Republicans either know the danger that's coming. Hey, it turns out there's finally a left wing that is gonna tap into that same resentment and frustration that the American people are feeling, that we've been using this entire time while we've been telling Democrats to run corporate-friendly people because they're idiots and they'll listen to us, right? And then he wears a second hat, which is helping Republicans, because that's his job. He's a pollster that frames things to the advantage of Republicans. He's the one that came up with a lot of the terms you know now, like the death tax instead of the estate tax, etc. So when he says, oh, it'd be great if Bernie Sanders won the general election, he's wearing the second hat. Meanwhile, he's like, no. He said, no, we would have real trouble if it was Michael Bennet from Colorado. Michael Bennett's a total pro-corporate, pro-rich Democrat who would present no problem at all, just like Hillary Clinton in the general election. Luntz knows that. So he does the very common trick on Fox News. Oh, please don't pick Michael Bennet. That would be dangerous for Republicans. But Bernie Sanders, yeah, we would love to face him, even though he's gonna win, and it's like, he's super popular, even with Trump voters, even with Fox News viewers. So, but yeah, we think Michael Bennett's the real danger. Sure you do, sure you do. I guarantee you've asked Frank Luntz in a behind the scenes and he was being honest, he'd say, are you kidding me? We're gonna get our clock cleaned by Bernie Sanders. It'd be his dream to run against somebody like Michael Bennet. That poses no problems for him at all. He's like, that idiot bought into our talking points. He'll repeat the things I framed 20 years ago. And so will Klobuchar and so will all the establishment Democrats. By the way, so will Joe Biden. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.